Yes, good evening, all of you. So today we are going to discuss history. So when I say history, history can basically be divided into three parts. One is ancient history, then you have medieval history, and then you have modern history. If you ask me, sir, what is the criteria for division of history into three parts? How can we divide ancient from medieval, and how can we divide medieval from modern? If you ask this question, it basically is about the political rule in our country. So we can say, right from the time human beings came on this earth, human beings came on this earth around 2 million years ago, which would roughly be around 20 lakh years ago. And at that time, there was no way for human beings to actually write because they did not know how to write. They did not know how to read. They only lived, and there was not even language to speak. So they just lived for a very long time. And from then on, slowly, people started living in groups, societies, and slowly language emerged, and slowly writing emerged, and slowly we started recording the events that have been happening. And this did not happen accidentally within few years. It took a very long time for this process to happen. And so you can take that part of history where human beings have not written anything. They do not have any records as prehistory. Okay, so that is prehistory. After that, by the time we come to Indus Valley Civilization onwards, we have written records. But unfortunately, Indus Valley Civilization, whatever they have written, we are not able to decipher that. We are not able to decode what they have written. So the actual proof for us, for written proof that we have, is from the Vedic time onwards, Vedic period onwards. Yes, Vedic period in Indian history is the first beginning where we started reading and writing and started recording things. And Vedas are the first source of knowledge, which we can say. And slowly, what happens after this Vedic period, we are going to have the Mahajanapada period. And Mahajanapada period later on it gave rise to Jainism and Buddhism. And slowly we have Mauryan period. And after Mauryan period, we have Guptas. After Guptas, we have Vardhanas. Okay, so this is how ancient history proceeds. And we say that when the Vardhana period comes to an end, Harshavardhana, when he dies, we say the dominant political rule in the North India comes to an end. So North India will not have a dominant political ruler after the end of Harshavardhana until the emergence of Delhi Sultanate under the Muslim kings. So you can broadly say Harshavardhana was the last major Hindu ruler who consolidated the North India. And later on, the political, rulers of India, prominent political rulers of India became these Islamic rulers from Delhi Sultanate onward. So that we can say is the dividing part between ancient and medieval India. And similarly, if you ask me, sir, what is the dividing point between medieval part and modern part? I would say, again, the dominant political rulers in the medieval part of India were mainly Delhi Sultanate. Delhi Sultans were Muslim rulers. And then you had Mughals, who were still Muslim rulers. And slowly, from then, the transition happened such that the dominant political rulers in our country were Europeans, British. So that is the demarcating period. That is from Islamic rulers to Europeans. There was a shift in the political rule, and that we say is the demarcating line between medieval India and modern India. So basically, this is how we divide history into three parts. So now let us see the ancient part of Indian history. And when it comes to ancient part of Indian history, we basically have the early part of history. I told you there was history which is not even recorded. There were times when there was no record of history, and that age we call it as Stone Age. So this concept of Stone Age is based on the idea that the tools which were used majorly during this time were stone tools, and that is why we call it as Stone Age. And Stone Age can further be divided into three periods. One is Paleolithic age, then you have Mesolithic age, and then you have Neolithic age. So Paleolithic age is also called as Old Stone Age, where human beings, they were not as intelligent as we are today. So the modern human who is as intelligent as we are today emerged around, I would say, 10,000 BC. 10,000 BC onwards, modern human beings, the current level of intelligence emerged. So, during Paleolithic period, humans majorly used the stone tools, and those stone tools were not, trim. They were not, accurate. They were huge in size. See, first of all, when the stone tools are huge in size, it's very difficult to carry them from one place to another place. And they were not sharp. So only when the stone tools were sharp, it was easy to hunt an animal or to cut something like tree or a fruit from the tree. So those stone tools were blunt. I'm talking about Paleolithic period. So human beings were not, they were not refined. They did not live in the way how the intelligent human being would live. And next comes the Mesolithic period, that is from 10,000 BC to 6,000 BC. This is where human beings, and in fact, this Mesolithic period is also called as Microlithic age. Now, what do you mean by the term microlith? Actually, the term lith means stone, and micro refers to small. So Mesolithic period, or also called as Microlithic age, is that period in history when human beings started using tools, especially stone tools, which are very small and they are more accurate and they are more sharp. So first of all, it is very easy to carry them from one place to another place. It is easy to carry them. And also, when you try to hunt an animal, it is easier to hunt an animal because it is sharp. And how you got this microlith? You took a huge stone, you rubbed two huge stones against each other, and those two stones broke apart, and then you had some flakes, small flakes of those stones, and you took those stones and started hunting. So that was your Mesolithic period. And then slowly, when human beings started using better tools, they were able to control the nature better. They were able to, hunt more animals. They were able to cut down the trees quite easily compared to Paleolithic age. And when they started doing it, they also started digging the ground, which was very much important for agriculture. So when all these things happened, slowly they transitioned from Mesolithic period to the Neolithic period, which I must say. Now, what is this Neolithic period? Neolithic period is that part which is also called as New Stone Age. And here, two things happen. You should remember two things when it comes to Neolithic period. One is the settled agriculture started. Settled agriculture. And second is the domestication. So there was agriculture at a very small scale. Only few known crops to human beings were grown, agriculture. And domestication of animals like cat, dogs, sheep, buffalo, all those things happened in the Neolithic period. Okay, so this was Stone Age for you. And this ended, I would say, around 1000 BC. And first record of history in India we have is of Indus Valley civilization. So Indus Valley civilization, which started 2600 BC, 2800 BC. This is the first proof of civilization in India. Now, what do you mean by civilization? And what characterized Stone Age and what differentiates civilization is, first of all, in civilization, there was writing, there was language, there was communication. People lived in city. People had major occupation as something apart from agriculture. So all these things are the examples of civilization, and the first civilization in India was Indus Valley civilization. Okay, Indus Valley civilization had a lot of, superior features compared to any other civilization. They had better town planning, and they had irrigation. There is a particular site in Gujarat where there is a proof for irrigation, and they were aware of casting bronze statues, and they were aware of bead making, and they were even aware of navigation. They used ships also. So it is considered as one of the more superior civilizations of its time. Okay, and this Indus Valley civilization comes to an end around 1800 BC. I'm going to just give you a brief about Indian history. I'm going to just tell you what is the importance of that era. Okay, and if we can get access to what these people have written, it would be a great discovery. But unfortunately, we do not know what they have written because we are not able to decipher that script. The main reason why we can't decipher their script is their script is not alphabetic, but it is pictographic. Now, what do you mean by pictographic? They represented, the language had representations of pictures and not alphabets. So since it is pictographic, and it was also something called as bostrofendonic. That is it. If you start writing from one line, and when the line ends, you will again continue below and again revert back. And again, when the second line ends, you will continue the third line from below itself. So this type of writing, it was something like this. I started writing like this, and again I continued like this. Again I came back and I wrote like this. This type of script is called as bostrofendonic. This type of script is called as bostrofendonic, and Indus Valley people used the script which is bostrofendonic. So it was quite difficult for us. It is quite difficult for us to understand what they have written. So that is the reason we are still not able to discover that writing. And after Indus Valley civilization, what happened in our country was a group of people came to our country from somewhere nearby to Central Asia. So today's Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, that region which is there, Uzbekistan. Some group of people, migrants, who migrated from that place, that is Central Asia, towards India. Now, if you ask me, sir, why they migrated? The main reason they migrated was because these people who called themselves or who were called as Aryans, they were basically pastoralists. That is, they were cow herders. Their main occupation was cattle rearing. And these people, they migrated from Central Asia towards India. And that too in two batches. One group of people, we call them as early Vedic people. Early Vedic people, they were also the ones who came up with Rig Veda. I think you people all know, when I say Veda, there are 4 Vedas. Which are the 4 Vedas? Rig Veda, Sama Veda, Yajur Veda, and Atharva Veda. So Rig Veda was the one which came first, and these 3 came later. So these people who brought Rig Veda, they were basically cattle herders. So their main job was cattle rearing. So their entire life revolved around the cow. So if you ask how their wealth was measured, that is, if you ask how a person was seen, whether he is rich or poor, was not on the basis of land he owned, was not on the basis of money he had. It was only on the basis of how many cows he owned. A person who owned more cows was considered as rich compared to a person who had less cows. So their entire life revolved around cows. And one problem that happened here was, see, if there was agriculture, then tax collection would have been easier. Because once if agriculture is being done, the food grains that you reap from agriculture, they can be used to pay taxes to the king. But here, in Rigvedic period, your entire life revolved around cows. And what will you get from cow? You will get milk, you will get curd, you will get ghee. Of course, you'll only get milk. You will have to make others out of it. You will get butter, you will get ghee or curd, basically milk. And all these products which you get from cow, they get spoiled easily. And you can't offer them as a tax to the king. So as a result of it, this period, that is the Rigvedic period, mostly people lived in rural communities, in villages. And as a result of which, there was no tax collection and there was no big kingdom which came up during this time. That is during Rigvedic time. And slowly what happened, by the time you come to later Vedic period, people started settling down. They started practicing agriculture. Land became a very important source of, wealth. And by the time you come to later Vedic period, it was possible for tax collection because agriculture became a very important source of occupation. And once agriculture started, you could collect the food grains and you can offer them as a tax to the king. And once this process started, huge or very big kingdoms emerged. See, for a kingdom to emerge, you basically need money. And if you need money, you need to collect tax. And if you should collect tax, there should be agriculture, without which it is impossible for collecting taxes. And once this agriculture started and huge tax collection started, big kingdoms came up. And 16 such huge kingdoms came up in India. And they were called as Mahajanapadas. And if you ask me, sir, how many of them were total? 16 of them. 16 Mahajanapadas came into existence. That is around 600 BC onwards, this process started. There were so many, Mahajanapadas, Kosala, Avanti, Magadha, so many other different kingdoms came up during this time. Among the various kingdoms, among these 16 kingdoms, the one which became extremely prominent was the Magadha Mahajanapada. Magadha Mahajanapada became one of the most important Mahajanapada of this time. The reason why Magadha, here is where Magadha is present in present-day Bihar region. If you ask me, sir, why Magadha became so prominent, why Magadha got its importance, I would say, see, one thing I forgot to tell you, that is, during the time of Indus Valley civilization, the metal which they used, you have to use some metal. For example, in Stone Age, you use stone. But later on, when human beings progressed, they started using metals. And the earliest metal which human beings used was copper. And after copper, during Indus Valley civilization, the metal which people of Indus Valley civilization used was bronze. But the problem is, bronze is an alloy of copper and tin. It is like mixture of two metals, copper and tin. And tin, we did not have that in India. We had to get it from Afghanistan. Again, we have to depend on something else. So obviously, bronze was available in huge quantities during the time of Indus Valley civilization. But we needed some metal, which we have in our place itself, which can be extracted and used in a large scale, so that we can produce a lot of weapons, we can produce a lot of agricultural tools. And that happened during the time of Aryans. Aryans were the one who introduced iron in India. They are the ones who introduced iron in India. And once iron was introduced, technology spread rapidly. People started, developing more and more tools, more and more weapons. And during the time of Mahajanapadas, I told you, Magadha was one of the most important Mahajanapada, and this Magadha was placed in this Bihar, Jharkhand regions, where this iron ore was present in maximum extent. Where that iron ore was present in maximum extent was nearby to this Magadha, where this Magadha was situated. And as a result of which, Magadha grew in prominence. And there were many dynasties which started ruling Magadha. And among those dynasties, there was the first dynasty, of course, was Haryanka dynasty, followed by Shishunaga dynasty. And Shishunaga dynasty was continued by Nanda dynasty. And among Nandas, Nanda, the emperor who established this Nanda dynasty, Mahapadmananda, they say he was not of a true-born king. They say he was of a lower-born who was not eligible to become a king, but later on somehow he became the king. And Nanda rule, they say, was filled with, it was basically a misrule. That is, the citizens did not enjoy their position during the time of Nandas, is what historians say. And as a result of which, it had to be overthrown. The Magadha kingdom, first of all, I am talking about the Magadha kingdom here. And Magadha kingdom was majorly ruled by Haryanka dynasty, followed by Shishunaga dynasty, followed by Nanda dynasty, and the last wicked ruler, last Nanda ruler, his name was Dhanananda. In fact, during the time of Dhanananda, Alexander the Great visited India. Alexander the Great came to India. But he had heard of Nanda army. People had told him that Nanda army had huge number of benefits, and it was, numerous. There were a lot of people in the army, and it would be almost impossible to defeat the Nanda army. So that is the reason why Alexander the Great will go back. He will not come and fight Dhanananda. But someone from inside itself will defeat him. Who is that someone from inside? Was their minister, or a very, one of the most practical and brilliant minds India has ever seen. His name was Kautilya, or popularly called as Chanakya. So this person, Chanakya, he helped, Chandragupta Maurya. Chanakya helps Chandragupta Maurya to defeat Dhanananda. And after defeating Dhanananda, Chandragupta Maurya will establish Mauryan empires. So there were 3 kings in Mauryan Empire. So one was Chandragupta Maurya, and his son Bindusara, and Bindusara's son Ashoka. These were the 3 important kings. And you all know about Ashoka. I need not mention much about Ashoka, because Ashoka was involved, in the earlier part of his rule. Ashoka actually, they say, killed 99 of his brothers. They say they were 100 in number. Again, this is all, we don't know if it's actually true, but some Buddhist texts, they say Ashoka and his brothers were 100 in number, and Ashoka killed 99 of them to come to power. Oh, just a minute. Yeah, I'm really sorry. They say Ashoka killed 99 of them to actually come to power. And particularly in 261 BC, Ashoka was fighting a war at a place called as Kalinga. In this Kalinga war, he saw so many dead bodies, lakhs of dead bodies. The bloodshed was so bad that the entire ground had turned red. And looking at this bloodshed, Ashoka decided, okay, I am not going to wage wars anymore. Okay, then how are you going to win over others, Andre? He came up with the concept of Dhamma. Or in the Sanskrit, it is Dharma. Dharma is a concept where you will not wage war, you will not fight to win over others, but you will convince them to become a part of you because of the great things that you have. You call others to be your part rather than, fighting them. You invite them to be a part of your culture. That is the concept of Dhamma, which Ashoka came up with. That's why we consider Ashoka as one of the greatest kings in history. See, after Ashoka, in 185 BC, there was a person by name Brihadratha. Now, Brihadratha was a weak ruler, and there was another king by Shunga dynasty, Pushyamitra Shunga. He defeats Brihadratha, and that's when Maurya Empire comes to an end. See, after the end of Mauryans, North India was divided. North India was divided into 3 kingdoms: Shungas, Kanvas, and many of these Greek rulers. See, when Alexander the Great came to India, he had left behind some Greek rulers here. And after Alexander's invasion, many other Greek dynasties, they started coming to our country. And they started establishing their rule, especially in the northwestern part of India. Here is where, northwestern part of India, you have, see, Yavanas, that is Greeks, Yukas, that is Greeks, and this land, Afghanistan region, that is basically called as Gandhara. So North India, after the decline of Mauryan Empire, the northwestern part of India was ruled by Kushanas. Basically, they were one of the descendants of Greek rulers, and the northern part was ruled by Tungas, later on followed by Kanvas. See, whenever there is no unity in North India, there cannot be a very important kingdom that comes. There cannot be a kingdom which controls the majority part of India. So if you want to control the majority part of India, first you have to unite North India. Who had done that for the first time? Chandragupta Maurya had done that for the first time. Followed by Ashoka. Ashoka also had done that for the first time. But after the Ashoka, the rulers were not so strong enough to actually, control the entire territory of North India. Next time this happens, that is North India came under one political rule, that was during the time of Guptas. Gupta rule is also considered as classical age of ancient India. The main reason is because of the economy which Gupta Empire set up. In fact, Guptas were the ones to issue largest number of gold coins in our country. And that's why we say Gupta Empire produced, the economy which, you can even look at this gold coin, which, makes Gupta Empire stand out from other empires. And after Gupta Empire, we have Vardhana dynasty, followed by, Gupta Empire was followed by Vardhana dynasty. And Vardhana, or also called as Pushyabhuti, was the one who set up this dynasty. And this dynasty had one of the most important ruler as Harshavardhana. Now, Harshavardhana was the one who, consolidated the rule in northern part of India. In fact, Huan Sang, who visits the court of Harshavardhana, praises him. He says Harshavardhana is a very good administrator, able administrator, who was able to control majority of North India. As long as things were under the control of Harshavardhana, everything was fine. But what happens, in the year 647 AD, Harshavardhana tried to expand his kingdom towards the south. See, once he had North India, now obviously he wanted to expand his kingdom towards the south, southern part of India. But when he comes to southern part of India, there was one of the most important king which he would face in his entire life. And that king was from Karnataka. His name was Immadi Pulakeshi, Pulakeshi II. and they both fight. Immadi Pulakeshin from Karnataka, Harshavardhana from North India, they fight on the banks of the river Narmada, in which Immadi Pulakeshin will defeat Harshavardhana. And after this, Harshavardhana's Vardhana dynasty will come to an end, and now the North Indian integration which had happened during the time of Harshavardhana is gone. Now North India is split into many small dynasties, and after this, the next time the integration happens, that is North India gets united, next time under Delhi Sultans.